Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pits of Motor Chaos. This is your host, Dave. I got a special guest, top fuel dragster driver, Doug Foley. How you doing, Doug?
Very good. How about yourself?
Not bad. So, how you had good holidays?
Not bad at all. Yeah, not bad. Just quiet family stuff, and went down to Florida for a couple days.
So, are you gearing up for the 2021 racing season?
Oh yeah. We've been preparing literally since we got back from Houston. So just trying to make a list of what changes we're going to make and all the things that we're trying to accomplish, and you slowly just try and check them off. When you don't have a full-time team and 8 guys in the shop, you got to be pretty strategic about how you handle it.
Yeah, it was good to see the team come back. You make that decision to come back again.
Yeah, it was something that, I wanted to go back racing. We did the 1 year with the A-Fuel car, and that worked out nicely, and we were pretty competitive at that point. But, it's just not big show racing. And, so for us, when the opportunity came, me and Tim talked about it, and, had to hash out the decision whether it made sense or not. But I'm glad we did.
So how did it feel to get back in the seat again after a decade of not racing?
It's definitely different. They were 1,000-foot racing before I stopped, so I was kind of used to that. But 10 years is just a long time to be away from something that accelerates that quickly, and it definitely gets your attention for sure. So it was. It was fun to be able to go to Phoenix, it was basically this time last year, and get relicensed and do all of that.
So what do you enjoy most about being a drag racer, Doug?
That's a loaded question, but, for me, I enjoy competition. So it's something I've always had a passion for, is racing since I was 15 or 16 years old when we started with street cars and all of that stuff. And so when you take a combination of something you have a passion for and something that you're competitive about, then you just put them together. And when we're working, we're working long days and quite hard. But at the same time, you always need that one thing that you enjoy, that you can go out and have some fun and enjoy the camaraderie between the teammates and the other teams. And it's just something we enjoy a lot.
Now, is there anything that you hate about drag racing?
No, I really can't say that there's anything particular that I dislike about it. It's something that it just has a lot of pluses to it. So I would say anything that I dislike is probably pretty minor, considering we spend as much time and effort doing what we're doing.
Now, in that 10-year hiatus, did you follow the NHRA at all?
Not as much. I mean, I would watch the shows, Sunday nights or something like that, and I wouldn't follow it as carefully as during that time. It was really, we made some really big business maneuvers as far as, getting rid of the school and selling that business off and starting some other things. So there was a lot going on in our lives. And then also, my kids, really taking a major initiative to become, quality bracket racers and that. So it was something that we would go to quite a few races with them and put some effort into that and build cars and do whatever we could to see their careers grow.
So is Doug Jr. still racing?
Yeah. He just kind of like me for a while. You get into these career opportunities and stuff, and that's kind of where he's at now. Working for the Rusty Wallace group and, doing all of that. And they've, acquired that racetrack now at Motor Mile. So he's going to be the track manager over there, on top of the fact of running, the pure speed events and all of that. So he's got a lot on his plate. But, 4 or 5 years ago, when he really took the bracket racing over very seriously, we built some cars and he did quite well at it, and really created a name for himself. But at the same time, we also look at the fact of without a successful working in business career, it's kind of hard to be successful in racing.
So, Doug, if you could have your drag racing fans remember one thing about you, what would you want that one thing to be that the fans remember about you?
I would say a couple things. I mean, one is that I've always kind of made myself available to the fans and spend some time with them and really talk with them and get to know them a little bit and do that. So that's always something I enjoyed. And the fact that I kind of feel like we always put, myself and Tim Lewis, my partner, we always put quality over quantity. So we wouldn't just drag it to races for the sake of being part of the race. We would drag it to races because we really felt like we could be competitive at that particular race. And that's where we put our effort towards, on hard work and trying to prepare.
Now, do you think you could get any better as a race car driver? And if so, how do you achieve that to get better?
I think you could always get better. I think anybody, any athlete or anybody invested in a sport or competition who doesn't think that they can't get better at something is not looking hard enough. So, but yeah, I mean, 10 years off doesn't, has not helped my reaction time. I will say that that's something that, it seems to always be a challenge, especially when you have these young kids coming up that can go 30 on a tree and 40 on a tree pretty consistently. So that's something that I will be putting a bigger effort into this year. And overall, I mean, on the driving side, you take 10 years off and you're always behind the car and behind what it's doing. But drivers that have a lot of laps are a lot more in touch with what the car's doing and how quickly it's, something's happening with the car that they can react to it. And so I think just getting more laps this year in will only help the ability to kind of even continue building a relationship with the car.
All right, so let me rewind the clock with you, Doug, and ask you, how did you get into drag racing in the first place?
I just had a lot of friends back in high school, that far back, that just really enjoyed, the 60s and 70s style cars. And, those days you just worked on them and you did whatever you could. And we would, play around and shop at school and do all of that. And at nights we were working on stuff to try and make our cars faster. And we did a little street racing back in the Bronx, which is where I lived at the time. I actually lived in Westchester, but we used to race in the Bronx. And, so we started there and then eventually ended up on the track and, just kind of, just saw stuff that just really intrigued me. And it was something I knew I wanted to be part of, that's for sure.
So what year did you start racing on the track?
Wow. I mean, the first time I ever went down a racetrack, I'm gonna say was 1982. And that was the first time I took my street car to a track so I could prep it for street racing in West Hampton, Long Island, which is no longer there. It hasn't been there for years, but that's where I got my first NHRA license and also my some laps down the track.
So you started out as a bracket racer?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I started with the street cars, and then I would say in the 90s is when I really started looking at getting into actual bracket racing, where we would go to. We had at the time we had a lot, quite a few tracks around us. We had Englishtown, we had Atco, and so we would go there in regular schedule of whatever bracket races we could enter, and then that's when I started the racing school. 97 is when I started the racing school and did that for just about almost exactly 20 years that I ran that school for. And so it was always a combination of, teaching people to drive and also getting the opportunity to bracket race before me and Tim decided to really take the top alcohol stuff serious in the late 90s.
So how did you do in bracket racing? Did you have success?
Yeah, actually I did. It was more then for me I was intrigued by the NHRA stuff and going to national events and divisional events. So I really put most of my effort towards the superclass racing when I first started. I'd go to ATCO and run the Saturday bracket races and stuff. But for the most part, I did a lot of 890 racing and did that in Division One for a long time, and really enjoyed that. I think I finished third one year and was always fairly competitive into points divisionally. And it's something that, me and my wife could go to the races and just really enjoy it. It wasn't that expensive, and you could just go and really enjoy it. And you didn't need a big crew. You didn't need a whole lot.
So how was your first time experience going down a track, back in 1982? How were you nervous?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anytime you go up there on the street, you pretty much figure that out, and you go and you watch and all of that. But when you're at a track and there's procedures and rules and all kinds of stuff like that, you're always, watching on top of that and make sure you did it right. So yeah, I would say so. Like I said, anybody who really wants to be good at certain things, you always start that way. After a while, it becomes second nature. Like, I don't get in a fuel car and think about what I have to do. If you have to think about it, then that's a problem, But in the beginning, yeah, you're always a little nervous, apprehensive, just because you want to do it right.
So after bracket racing, what did you move into?
Went to the alcohol dragster in mid to late 90s when I started to transition that, but late 90s when we started taking it seriously. I would say 99, those years. We bought a Yara car and really started, stepping it up. And we ran blown car for quite a while, and then filled it in here and there with some A-fuel stuff. For the most part, most of my alcohol career was in a blown car. And that's when I met John Fink, and John came on board, and he was tuning my car for me. And so it was always like a really, friendly type of thing, and we always enjoyed that. There was no pay at the time. Everybody kind of threw their money in a pot, and that's how we raced. Whatever we had was kind of how we figured it out. If we needed parts or we heard something, it was kind of a bunch of guys just putting their money together so we could get enough money to go to the next race.
So after alcohol, then you moved to Top Fuel?
Yeah, in 2003 is when we decided. Went to Dallas in 2003 with the blown car. The A-fuel cars are really starting to take off. They were becoming pretty abundant, and so Tim had just said to me, "Listen, we gotta make some changes here. I don't know what it is, but the blown car just can't be competitive anymore." And we were spending twice as much as they were on the A-fuel side, and so we got to the point where it was time to make a move and put the car for sale. We sold that, and then started looking at what our options were. And Top Fuel was never really something obviously as a driver, every driver strives for that, but it's not something I thought was obtainable. But then when I looked at it and realized the platform that the IHRA provided drivers like me, where we weren't going to spend that much more, believe it or not, to run 10 races in the IHRA and Top Fuel than we were in a blown car in the NHRA. So, we investigated, we looked at it, and that was the next step. So 2004 was our first year in Top Fuel.
Wow. So how did you meet up with Mr. Lewis in the first place?
My racing experience, originally it was called Doug Foley's Drag Racing School, and then in I would say 2012 or 13 is when we changed it over to Pure Speed Racing. But at that point is in the late 90s, probably 97 or 8, maybe 8 or 9, 97 or 8, 8 or 9 is when we met each other. He came to the school. He brought his car down. He had a couple cars himself, and he had a Mustang, and so we went down and kind of just giving him some pointers on how to compete with his car and all of that, and got to be friendly, and it kind of grew from there. He had just recently had sold his business and retired, and so it was just a relationship that grew, and here we are, God knows how many years later, and just we're still partners and still have a lot of respect for each other, and still have the common goal of trying to be competitive in drag racing.
All right. So now, when you started out in drag racing in the top fuel, did you have any drivers that you looked up to?
Oh yeah, of course. When I would go watch the races, and before I was even in the alcohol dragster, guys like Bernstein and those guys were just, they were iconic in the sport, and so weirdly enough, I wasn't a huge fan in my early years. I was one of those guys that was more into making my car really competitive and doing that when I was into street racing. But when it moved into the ability to go in 2004 and compete in Top Fuel, yeah, I mean, the Bernsteins and just all those guys who had, really kind of, carved this sport out for guys like me.
Now, what about a guy like Chris Karamessinis?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at, those are guys that, him and Coletta and, Garlitz, all those guys who, I look at what they did and what they went through to, have a competitive car at that level. And, they didn't have the help that we do. They sure didn't have the quality of parts that we do. So, it was truly a love of the sport that had to get those guys, the iconic status that they have, and how much work they had to put into it at the time. I can't even imagine.
All right. So when you take that dragster out, how many crew members you are, and who are your crew members?
We've made some changes this year. Last year we made some changes and brought on, because of the pandemic and teams that were not competing. We had the luxury of some guys being available from, teams like John Force and those guys. So we were able to bring in some really talented guys to help us last year. I assume they're going back racing this year. Nothing's been announced, so a lot of those guys are waiting. So in an attempt to make sure our team was solid, we brought in a bunch of guys that we have met over the years that we're okay with part-time racing because that's who we are. We don't have the budget to go 24 races or anything like that. So my son joined the team. My youngest son joined the team this year. He's going to be a clutch assistant. So we've brought in Lee Pendleton, who's been on and off with me for years. Mike Eubanks, I don't know how many times he's worked with me. Those two guys are doing cylinder heads. So we just have a good variety. We bring a new guy in that worked with Coletta for years, Jeff Leister. He's going to be doing some shop stuff and kind of helping us, get the clutch kind of straightened out. So we got quite a few guys that are coming in to, Warrior, which he helped us last year. He was pulling ahead last year, and now he's going to be our car chief this year. We kind of moved him up to a car chief position. And these are guys that have been in the sport for years and really, have cut their teeth with some of the iconic teams out there, but some of them have full-time jobs now. Some of them don't have an interest in doing 24 races. And, for a team like ours, it's going to do, around 10 races. It works out well to have the guys who are that educated and that knowledgeable and can bring something to the team. Is a great opportunity for myself and Tim.
Now, who are all the sponsors that keep this car going?
We're going on our second year with Redline, which is a great relationship. They definitely make the finest products when it comes to lubricants and all of that. Which so that's a great opportunity. They just recently re-signed us for this year. Goodson has always been there to support us. So we've had quite a few. We did lose Strutmasters this year, so that's a downside for us. So we're working really hard to kind of replace that and see what we can do. We have one or two small deals that are in the works now for 1 and 2 race deals. So we're still in the midst of trying to figure all of that out. Myself and Tim will support it to get it started for the year, and with the help for, like I said, Goodson and Redline and all these other people that have helped us throughout the years. And we'll get out there and hopefully we can produce. We do a lot of B2B relationships, and Lee's been helping us try and gain some social media, presence and stuff, so we can kind of, show people that, hey, listen, we're out here, and it's something that, for the most part, if you're going to 24 races, it's very expensive. But for somebody like us, where we're doing it part time and we have the ability, the expense is not as great as people think, and we just want the opportunity to work with a company that we can show them what we're capable of doing.
Right. So now, Doug, when you get out there in the staging lanes, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions when you're out there?
I really don't. I mean, I'm sure some of my stuff that I do, or other drivers do also. You always get get in the car same side all the time. You always get dressed the same way every time. There's times you get dressed and you realize that you did something backwards, and you'll literally get undressed and start all over again. Or, I mean, it's just silly stuff that everybody's got their own idea of what they're doing and how they do it and how they go about it. But, for the most part, I talk to myself inside the car, but, you get that 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how early you get in the car. I get in pretty early. And you get that time to just kind of, get into a zone of what you're doing, and kind of really, if anything, just kind of chill out. And there's a lot of camaraderie between, you have that many people around you all day. It gives you that 5 minutes of quiet time to kind of just get in the zone and be prepared to, to accelerate that quickly and have, a good preparation and good head on your shoulders.
Probably you do a quick prayer.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially if you have Racer for Christ out there, all of that. I mean, those guys are just unbelievable. Guys and girls are unbelievable as far as just being out there to help support us and make us feel really safe, and that's always important to us, because if you get in a car like that and you have any doubts of what's going on, then you can't be competitive.
Now, do you have to do a lot of preparation on that dragster, between races?
Oh, yeah. No, the work these days is just phenomenal. It really is. I mean, parts that we used to run back, 15 years ago, now we don't even think about it. I mean, the downside is if you want to be competitive with the Colettas and the Schumachers and the Torrances and, all those teams, you have to emulate what they do. So, you can't sit there with a different tolerance on parts than they do, because that means when I go to the starting line on Sunday and I'm racing one of those great cars out there, that means that my car is going to be inferior. And so, and that's what a lot of the part-time teams miss. They miss the fact that it's not just being there. It's making sure you go to the starting line with as equal of an opportunity as they have. Now, that's hard to say when they have, 12 guys on their team and we have 8, and they have big budgets and we don't. But at the same time, you have to go there and make sure that, that clutch system, that car, that motor is put together with tight tolerances, ready to run, and, ready to go low 70s. We've never been in the 60s, but, this year, 10 years ago, my fastest ET was an 82. And now this year we were able to bring it down to a 75. And there's a couple runs there that we should have ran a 74. And those are numbers those low 70s are numbers that we're going to be shooting for. But the only way to do that is to make sure that you have quality people and quality parts and pieces. That's the only way you're going to be competitive out there. I don't care. Our only goal is to go rounds and get our first NHRA win. That's our only goals this year.
Yeah, it was good to see Sarge get back out there last year.
Absolutely. When you have, drivers like him that can come back out, we struggle to keep those guys out here. I mean, but to have somebody like that, able to out there and represent, and I hear rumors that he's going to come out for a couple more races this year. That's good. It's good for the sport, and we would love to see guys like him and Corey Mack and Dixon and those guys come back and spend some time out there, because it only helps the sport grow, and that's something that we really kind of need to work on, turning this thing around, so we can only try to get more more marketing partners and more people involved, so we can start to turn a corner and see if we can get a little growth.
Now, Doug, do you have any favorite tracks to race on?
Yeah, I don't know that if we're going to Bristol or not this year. Here we are. It's not on the schedule currently, but it's not. That's a place I really like to go to, and it's close. It's close by. ZMAX is a great place. I'm fortunate enough to. Our shop is 15 miles from there, so those are great facilities. As far as tracks go, God, I wish Englishtown didn't go away. It was iconic. It was where I lived back in New York, and so for us, that was just a great place to race, and so much history there. And it was my first race, my only lap that at that time, quarter mile, that I went over 330 mile an hour. So I would say Englishtown number one, but out of tracks that are out there right now, I'm surrounded between Bristol and ZMAX with some pretty quality facilities.
Yeah, it's always a rough time when you lose a track.
It is, and we need certain markets. If you want to be relevant as a sport, having the New York market is really important, and so we just look at that. I'm glad we still have Maple Grove. We'll go there this year, and those are places that are really helpful. And but we want to keep those big markets, the Philly markets, the New York markets, as many of those as we can, so we can try and keep partners and keep the sport, like I said, relevant.
Yeah, like the future Route 66 is still up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on with that track.
Yeah, you hear stories about it. The same thing with Phoenix. You hear stories about what's going on there, and there's so much development. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm in the development business now, and that's why I transitioned into when I sold my business. And so now we buy land, we put houses up, we do all of that, put roads in, and so for us, we understand the development side because that's what turns dollars for us. But at the same time, you want those places for people to go, play and enjoy and have fun. It's a great, safe sport. I don't know that, my family has grown because of our time out there at the tracks and having fun with people and enjoying and just getting to know people. So most of our, social aspect of our life somehow revolves around racing. And so that's something that we never want to see tracks go away, because that's always an opportunity where families are and people that we enjoy spending time with.
So what have been the milestones of your drag racing career?
Well, I mean, you got to go back to the first year that I drove a top fuel car. For sure, we went to 12 races. We won 3 of them in Pro Rookie of the Year. So to me, that's a huge, as far as what me and Tim had aspired to do in our first year of top fuel racing. I don't think you could, much more than that. And you look at that, 2 of those races were against Clay Millican in 6 days,
Yeah.
So you look at that and you say, at that time he was probably, I'm guessing, 4-time world champ at that point, or 3. I'm not sure exactly, but at that point we beat him twice in 6 days in finals. So you look at stuff like that, and those are building blocks that we really learned about the quality over quantity. We didn't go there and our car didn't start, or we didn't go there. We went there as prepared as we possibly could. We knew we were beating somebody who had a lot of laps and a lot of money, but so we've kind of learned for that not to scare us, So, but you look at things like that, and we were back in 2007. We went to quite a few semifinals on the NHRA side, so that was really important to us. Probably would have won a championship in IHRA in 2006 if I didn't crash. We were 17 points ahead with 2 races to go in the final round. So that was $250,000 sitting out there for our team. That would have been huge, but even more importantly, the opportunity to win a championship. So, wasn't meant to be, but at the same time, you just got to look at it and say, wow, these were opportunities that we had, things to look forward to, and things that make you continue working hard. Every weekend that you're not at the track. I mean, right now I'm chomping at the bit to go. I mean, we've been home for, I don't know, 15, 16 weeks now. It's like, let's go, but, we got 4 more weeks to prepare and then we'll go on the road.
Now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
Right now, I currently wear Simpson stuff. And actually, no, that's not true. I have a Sparko suit right now. I changed suits this year, but we haven't had any particular, sponsor, step up and be part of our program yet. Because at the same time, we also look at it and say, we want to make sure, just coming out last year was more of a platform year. Let's get out there. Let's kind of get the cobwebs off. Let's make sure we got good equipment, good people, and all of that. And we'll start, we've started over this winter being serious about trying to find those companies that want to partner with us and really help us get to the next level. And that's stuff that we're working on now to try and see about what we can do to get there, that support.
So what's been your fastest run time in Top Fuel Dragster?
375. We went 375 in the night show at Indy this year. And we knew, that we could run those 370s. We just hadn't been there. We hadn't been tough to complete, but we got to look at it. We started the season, went to Phoenix, barely qualified there, really didn't do very well. And then went to Gainesville and the season was canceled, so we never got to run there. Totally changed everybody on the team between then and July when the team was, when the season was shut down. And then we bring all new people in. And what do? Is we go into, Indy in July and August. Not exactly a good time to be trying to run 70s, So our focus was more on just trying to get things ironed out. But, we knew we had 70s in there. Houston, we would have went probably a low 74 if the belt didn't come off. Second round against Tony. We should have won that round. But those are things that we've worked on this winter to try and, figure out is, those little details are the details that let you complete a run. And that's what where we have to focus on and trying to see if we can help ourselves in that direction. But I'm hoping to be able to say, at the end of this season that we've ran a bunch of low 70s, and you never know if this thing really takes off. It's got the capabilities of running a high 60.
So what are you looking forward to the most out of the 2021 season?
First is getting back out there, because I am not a person that I have no patience for anything, so waiting is not my strongest point. But I want our first win. That's what I want. If we get our first win this year, then we have accomplished what myself and Tim have been desiring for years. And second to that is I want to find that one marketing partner that really believes that we can give them what they need to help them grow their business and at the same time grow our team so we can grow together and eventually be a full-time team. But if we find that partner and if they have some faith in us and give us the opportunity, I guarantee that we'll go full-time together, because we will show them the value. There's no doubt about that. So that's something that on the business side of it, it's a personal goal of mine to get this car fully funded.
So now that you're driving again, how many years do you think you got in you to go still?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've always had some back issues, always, and I've had multiple surgeries. But I took it very serious. When we came back from Houston, the Monday after we came back from Houston, Tuesday morning I started going to the gym. I just decided that I was going to be in better shape this coming year, and I've gone to the gym every morning since. And I'm trying to shed some pounds. I'd like to see if I can lose 8 to 10 pounds going into the season. I'd like to be a little stronger, not necessarily just the weight, but just be in better physical shape. So if we do have an issue or something happens, I'm in a little bit better position. But that's kind of what I'm put my focus on. And if that happens and we can keep things going in the right direction, I don't see an end in the near future. That's for sure. I wouldn't have put the team back together if I felt like I couldn't do this for hopefully quite a few years.
Yeah, you're only old as you feel, right?
I'm a true believer in that. And, if you allow yourself to start to believe that you're too old to do something, then that's going down a slippery slope. I want to be competitive. So I think that would be a big portion of me. If I felt like I couldn't be competitive anymore, then I would just put somebody else in the car. Then that's something that you can't come back from. But I don't feel that way. I feel like I can be competitive. I've shown signs of doing my job properly, but at the same time, I've also shown that the rust is still there.
Yeah, you never know, Doug. Maybe you'll be like the Greek and go up in your 80s.
Yeah. I don't know if that's my goal, but I would hope by then we've put somebody in the car and figured that out. But no, I mean, for me, I definitely see, for the foreseeable future, I plan on, being the driver for this team and continuing it. And like I says, I've never ran a full NHRA season, so that is one of my goals. But we're going to take it one step at a time. Right now, like I says, probably around 10 races this year with quality over quantity, be competitive. And, as long as you're competitive, you don't give that other team in the other lane the ability to think that they've got you by 4, 5, 600s. And when you give them that opportunity, then they have a little bit of an ability to be able to slow the clutch down, slow things down, because they know that you're not capable of running those ETs. But you go out there and you run 72, 73, and you show them you can do it, then you have the ability to keep them honest. And when you do that, it gives you the opportunity to win that round, that's all we're looking for.
All right, now I'm going to ask you a few fun questions here before we close out. You ready?
Yep.
You have any hobbies outside of drag racing?
Work. That's it.
Okay. If you could time travel, find a time travel machine and go back into time, would you do anything differently with a drag racing career?
Yeah, if I went back, I may have taken it a little bit more seriously in my early years, which probably would have gotten me out there earlier, given me probably a better chance to accomplish those full-time seasons and some of that.
All right, now if you and the family have time to take a vacation, what's your favorite vacation getaway?
My wife loves the beach, so anywhere that's hot and the beach, and she's good, and I'm kind of a workaholic, so anytime away from work, I'm just looking at her saying, what do we do next?
What's your favorite food to eat?
A good steak is probably better than anything.
Now, is your wife a good cook?
Excellent cook.
So what's your favorite dish that she makes?
She makes a lot of good stuff. Chicken cacciatore, street tacos. I mean, she'll tell me in the beginning of the day what we're having for dinner, and then we eat home about almost every night, and she's pretty darn good cook.
Now, how about you? You doing any cooking?
No, I did in my earlier years. We owned restaurants. We did this, we did that. But no, I've gotten to the point where I'll focus on the business side, and I'll stay away from the kitchen.
All right. What's your favorite beverage to drink?
I'm all over the place, but because I'll say Coke because of their loyalty to our sport.
Now, do you drink alcohol?
I really am not a big alcohol drinker. If I do, I'll drink vodka. But it's something that I think back in my teens and my 20s, I probably drank enough for my entire life. So I think now I do it occasionally, just on celebration times, and I did tell my crew that if we do get that win, we may be taking the awning down on Monday or Tuesday, because there may be some adult beverages involved in that. But yeah, I'm not a huge drinker.
Yeah, that first win, it'll be a big party.
It would be. The party will definitely be long and fun.
So, you have a favorite movie of all time, Doug?
I like a lot of action movies and stuff like that. So, I just a lot of action movies. Nothing particular, to be honest with you.
Now, do you have any pet peeves at the track?
Yeah, guys that don't take it as seriously as it should be taken seriously, which maybe makes me a little boring, on that side, because they're a little bit more, there are a lot of people out there that go there for the pleasure of just being there. And to me, I'm a little bit more on the serious side. I want to see my team and our competition do well. So, yeah, that's one thing that I see teams that have the ability and just maybe don't take it to their fullest level.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Now, are you a dog guy or cat guy?
Dog, definitely. I don't own a dog because it would probably just be something else that I need to handle in my life. But I could definitely see me being a guy who had, one of those dogs that just hang out with you and be your best friend. And I could definitely see that in my future.
Now, what social media sites can we find Foley Lewis racing on?
All of them. Obviously, page on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. Lee helps us with all of that. He does a great job. We've been putting videos out and pictures of his shop. We have a brand new shop being built. Like I said, I'm in the land development side and houses and all of that. And myself and Tim are building a brand new shop that we will be hopefully having our grand opening right around the fall Z-Max race. We're planning to try and do, a party there. Then we're still working on the details, but that's going to be a 12,000 square foot shop in Mooresville, North Carolina. And so that's something that, we look as one of the stepping stones to this team, having all the parts and pieces that are needed for our guys to really help us get to the level we want to.
Now, for people that are listening to this interview live right now, they should come by the pits in Cincinnati if they come out and watch you, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, that's one of the things that we really enjoy is the camaraderie. A lot of them I even taught to drive over the years, but the camaraderie with the fans and people who, give us the ability, because if they didn't come and watch the sport, we wouldn't have the ability to be out there and do what we do. So we love their support. We love the fact that they're out there, and yeah, absolutely. If you're out there and, you want to just come on by and take a look and see what's going on and ask questions, we want to be part of that.
Yeah, that's the great thing about drag racing. You have the access to the drivers.
It is an unbelievable, and, I think a lot of people who don't really understand drag racing know the value in that. But the fact that you can walk right up and the fact that you can be part of it, it was a little eerie last year with the whole pandemic thing. And I'm sure we're going to deal with that the first 4 or 5 months of the season this year. But, that's one of the things I missed. It wasn't as great my first year back because they wanted us to kind of keep our distance a little bit. That's understandable. Safety's got to be important to people. But at the same time, we're hoping we get past this in, like I said, next 4 or 5 months. And by the time the second half of the season comes, we can really, spend some time with our fans and really, because like I said, without them, we'd be nothing.
All right. You have any final words, Doug?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity to let, and so does Tim, to discuss, have conversations with our fans through you. And we hope everybody stays safe and have a great racing season.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing the interview today, and I wish you the best of luck with the 2021 drag racing season.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
You have a good day.
You too.
Bye.